these problems that the youth face are really complex problems, especially when they turn the age of 16 or 17 years old. This is actually due to the revelation or change in the character. We want to know what is the different factor that lead them to do this. First, we want to discuss about the lack of understanding by the parents actually which help them to overcome this stage. We also want to know what is the development change in the brain or how they want to create a separate identity or they want to live differently. So now we want to discuss it's not bad to be bad in this stage of life. What is the consequence will be? Is this consequence will follow them later on in their life? So today we are going to have a real life and perfect example that will show us how to escape from this situation and how to manage this stage of life.
I was born in a non-Muslim country where families usually see the religion as part of the tradition, and the religion is not actually understood the way it's supposed to be understood. So the education there doesn't provide religious teaching, and the families, they will teach you some technical part of the religion, but when it comes to the understanding, here is where the problem starts. I mean, they will teach you how to pray. They will teach you that you should pray. But then why you are supposed to do that, that is the problem. And my problem is that there is no problem at all, but there are things that sometimes I regret for. But then when eventually I look at them, I think it's nothing. I was a good guy until I was like 15, until I graduated from my primary school. And yeah, I usually, and most of the times I had success. But then I went to secondary school, where the education system is completely, completely divided from the religion, where religious teachings have no place over there, and even the lecturers, they push forward for distinction of religion and the educational system. And yeah, my first year went very well. My performance was very good. But then I started my second year. And with that, I started getting into troubles. Troubles which I didn't actually realize that I was getting into. In my first year, I didn't have many friends, but then it was the second year where I started associating with many friends. Friends which I didn't actually filter, which I didn't actually evaluate which one was good and which one was bad. So everyone for me was good actually. And especially those, the naughty guys, those who like to play around, who like to do stupid things, those ones were attracting me, and I used to associate with them. So I started associating with such friends, and the thing that we admired at that time, I started actually admiring was girls. I started associating with girls, and my aim was to have as many girlfriends as possible. Starting to hang around with them, go out with them, sometimes even leave the classes and just go and have fun with them. And having female friends might be okay, but then my aim was completely different. I wanted them to be my girlfriends. I wanted them to satisfy me physically, and that was the problem actually. So basically, by the middle of second year, I started even going in this aspect, going even deeper and having many girlfriends. For instance, I would like to change my girlfriends, like used to change like every month or every week at times. And that's actually problematic because my performance started decreasing and I was nowhere. I was not thinking much. My relationship with my family was very bad. Even with my friends, I was not actually very good, but I was just associating with them to have fun with them. My lecturers were saying, "What's wrong with you?" And even my parents would get angry why my performance was not very good. And why sometimes I would come late. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I would even miss the classes because I would stay late at night and I wouldn't go to classes. And basically that's the idea. Would have many problems which I think were leading me to the deepest hell. Generally, that's the biggest issue I had. Yeah. Basically, that was my state, which I never understood that it was wrong. I always thought that that was the state which I was supposed to be in. That was the person which I was supposed to be, and never realizing that I was going like literally going to hell. No results and no progress at all. Just ruining my life, ruining my future, ruining my relationships, and everything. But this is not the end, because as we say, every uphill must have a downhill. And a change started somewhere. I went to third year and still continued with the same way I used to live in the second year. But now I was kind of more mature. And by the middle of the third year, I kind of got fed up with these things and I wanted something else. So I had a friend. He was a religious guy, and he would do Islamic dawah. He would do things for Islam. For instance, he would organize lectures, Islamic lectures on Saturdays, or he would distribute books and Islamic literature to the students, which are actually specified for them, which would guide them at that age. And interestingly, I started associating with him. Though before that, I used to think that he was a dumb guy, he was a stupid guy who didn't know what the life was indeed. But I started associating with him, and he would call me for lectures on Saturday, and I wouldn't miss any of them. I started reading his books that he used to give me because I was actually passionate about reading. So I would read everything that would come in front of me. But before that, I had never ever read an Islamic book, what is good and what is right. So I started going to lectures, I started reading books and actually reading very heavily. And now was the period, like by the middle of third year, when the religion started making sense to me. Then I started reading, started like exploring what the religion was about, whether it was something old only for the old people, which I had been actually perceiving it as, or whether it is something, a system of life which couldn't even be applied at me at that age. And I was actually realizing that it was exactly that I actually had been missing, because I was looking for happiness, but I couldn't find happiness with the things that I was doing previously. Now I started reading very heavily. I started reading even Quran in translation and not in Arabic, because I couldn't understand Arabic. And before that, I used to think like, what the hell is this? I cannot understand. You would even get angry with it, and I would get fed up. Now I started reading it in my language, and I actually could understand it very well. And now it started telling me something which I actually had been missing for so long. And yeah, this was like by the end of third year, by the middle of third year. Now, by the end of third year, I was reading the history of the Prophet, and I realized that it was such a great life, such a great messenger, such a great message for all of us, how to actually find happiness and where the real happiness is actually. And I started realizing that it's a spiritual, it's a spiritual state where you get happiness. It's not whether you have many girlfriends or you have luxuries or you have any other things. It's just a spiritual thing. Knowing your God, knowing what you are supposed to do, and knowing what is your objective indeed. So by the end of third year, I had completely changed. Like my family were asking me, what is this? How did you come to improve? And even them, they realized that religion is about making sense. So I started now associating with good friends. My performance now improved, and even my relationships with my parents, with my father, and with my mother greatly improved. Now I would please them, I would satisfy them, and I would definitely respect them as much as possible.
As we can see, Omar went through a difficult time by doing bad things more and more. It could almost destroy his future, but thanks God, he eventually changed.
Today, I have definitely found the greatest happiness in my life, which I have always been looking for, even especially during that period of time where I was committing so many sins. and I was getting nowhere. Today, I think I'm quite productive. I have come to study in Malaysia here in an Islamic university, which gives me so great pleasure. Today, I'm very active when it comes to debate. I'm engaged deeply in debates, and I debate quite a lot, and even representing my university. And thirdly, I will represent even my university in competition among universities when it comes for marathons. And I think the time that I spent for other bad things, which were leading me nowhere, today I spend the time in very productive things, studying, debating, running, and doing so many other things, even helping the others to do good things and to improve in their lives. This is where Islam led me. This is where the understanding led me. And yeah, definitely, the greatest happiness is right now, and was definitely not at that time.
My friend Omar, his past does not reflect in his life today. And since I knew him, in terms of study, he's so talented. And he also knows to do the right thing and which follows the Islamic way. And it's very interesting to know how he could manage to get through that stage in his life.